Hello guys, welcome back. Today we are starting our week on proportions. Today we're going to just talk about what proportions are and how do we decide if a ratio or a rate is proportional. So let's go ahead and make sure you titled your notes and we'll get started. First, in order to use proportions, we are going to end up simplifying fractions. So we need to make sure that we can simplify these fractions. So warm up your brains. Whatever table number you sit at is a fraction I want you to simplify. Pause the video while you work. All right, here's the correct answers to simplifying fractions. All right, so go ahead and decide how you did here. Look for your answer, see if it's the correct answer. Number F, I gave you guys a number. Table F, I gave you guys a trick question. 10 over 41 cannot be simplified. So that was as simple as it could get. All right, let's go ahead and continue to move on here. First, let's talk about what is a proportion. How do you know if something is proportional to something else? Go ahead, talk with your table, see if you can answer these questions. All right, so a proportion is an equation. Stating that two ratios are equal. So for example, down below here, 2/3 equals 4/6. That is a proportion. It is stating that the ratio 2:3 is the same as the ratio of 4:6. So if you ate 2 out of 3 of the brownies, that's equal to eating 4 out of 6 of the brownies. Or if you ate 2 and left 3, that would be the same proportion as eating 4 and leaving 6. They are equal. The proportions are the same. All right, so what I want you to do is give an example of two fractions that are equivalent or proportional, show why they're equivalent, and then give me another example of two fractions that are not equivalent and explain why they are not. So again, one example where they are equivalent, they are equal to each other, and one example that they're not. We'll pause the video while you work. All right, so here are some of my examples of fractions that are equivalent. So here's my example of two fractions that are equivalent. And it says in the question to show why they are equivalent or show how. Well, what I did here is I did 4 times 3 gave me 12. And remember, to make fractions equivalent, whatever you do to the top, you have to do to the bottom. So 5 times 3 is 15. Therefore, I showed that they are equivalent. Here's two examples of fractions that are not equivalent. So 1/2 is not equivalent. I can draw a little unequals bar through that to 4/5. And it says, show why they are not equivalent. Well, 1 times 4 is how I got 4 as my numerator, but 2 times 4 is not 5. Therefore, I did not do the same thing to the top of my proportion or the bottom of my proportion, so they're not equivalent. Okay. You might have had completely different examples, and that's okay. These are just two examples that I came up with for equivalent and not equivalent. So to tell two ratios are proportional, simply put them in simplest form. If their simplest form is the same fraction, or the same ratio, then they're proportional. If when you simplify, you get two completely different answers, they're not actually the same fraction. So here I have the question, are 20/40 and 13/26 proportional? Well, when I simplify 20/40 all the way down, I get 1/2. When I simplify 13 over 26, I also get 1/2. So yes, they are proportional. So again, simplify both the fractions. Are your simplified answers the same? Then yes, you're proportional. Are your simplified answers not the same? Then no, they are not proportional. Let's go ahead and you try these. Remember, you simplify both fractions. If they're the same, you simplify. If they're the same, they are proportional. If they're different, they're not. Go ahead, pause the video while you work. Alrighty, so 5/40 simplifies down to 1/8 because I divided by 5 on the top and bottom. 9/12 simplifies down to 3/4 when I divide by 3 on the top and the bottom. 1/8 is as simple as it can get, and so is 3/4. But they didn't simplify down to the same answer. So to answer the question, are these two fractions proportional? Your answer is no. Now, you cannot just give a yes or no answer on these. You have to show your thinking. So my thinking here was 5/4 is really 1/8, or 5/40 is really 1/8, and 9/12 is really 3/4. So therefore, your answer is no. All right. Sometimes simplifying fractions is a little bit trickier. For example, simplifying the fraction 100 over 180 could be a little bit trickier because the number is bigger. Simplifying 15/27 also could be a little trickier. So what you can do is use the cross products. Cross products simply means if you multiply on the diagonals, that's called cross products. When you multiply on those diagonals, if you get equal numbers, then they are proportional as well. So here, what I did was 100 over 180. We're wondering, is that equal to 15/27? Well, I can multiply along the diagonals. You can see I highlighted that in red here. 100 times 27 is 2,700. 15 times 180 is also 2,700. So therefore, my answer is yes, these are proportional because the cross products are the same. The cross products equal each other. So go ahead and you try using cross products. So I'll set this up for you. Remember, so we have 14 over 16. We're wondering, does that equal 49 over 56? Again, you want to cross multiply. So multiply across one diagonal, multiply across the other diagonal. Go ahead and pause the video while you work. All right, so again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to multiply along the diagonal. So 16 times 49. That gives me 784. Then I multiply across the other diagonal. So 14 times 56. You have calculators, just type them in. That gives us 784 as well. So therefore, those do equal each other. So your final answer is yes. So cross products can help when the numbers get a little bit trickier. Remember that in rates and ratios, you can have decimals. And so cross products helps when it's a lot easier than simplifying. But here you can see I also showed my work of cross multiplying. I showed what the cross product was, which was 784. And then I answered yes or no. Let's go ahead. We'll look at another example. Like I just said, some ratios and rates can have decimals in it. I cannot simplify 9 over 13.5, right? We don't simplify with decimals. So what we can do is set it up and use cross products. We have 2/3. Does that equal 9 over 13.5? Well, we figure out by multiplying across or along the diagonals. So 9 times 3 we know is 27. Does that equal 2 times 13.5? 2 times 13.5 is also 27. Yes, those equal each other. So yes, they are proportional. Oops, I can draw my cross product here as well. So again, multiplying along the diagonal, if those answers are the same, your answer is yes, they are proportional. Go ahead and you try this one. Are those two ratios proportional? Make sure you show your work. Pause the video while you work. All right, so what I did here is I set up my proportions. I'm saying I think these are equal to each other. So then what I can do is type in 8 times 19.2. And I get 153.6. And I'm saying, does that equal, I'm having trouble drawing equal signs, I guess, today, 3.2 times 48. And that gives me 153.6. That means they do equal each other. Don't forget to answer the actual question. Are these proportional? Yes, they are. Again, make sure you answer yes or no. All right, let's go ahead and whatever table number you sit at is the number I'd like you to do. Press pause on your video while you work. All right, and here are the correct answers for your table practice. So as you can see here, tables A, B, D, and E, they did end up being proportional. All of these, for the most part, have decimals in them. So using cross products was just the easier option here. Team C and Team F, those did not have decimals in them. So you could have simplified down and you would have gotten 8 over 5 on the one hand, but you wouldn't have gotten 8 over 5 for the other fraction. So therefore, no. Or you could have used cross products, and when you multiply diagonally, you would have gotten different answers. Therefore, no. You also need to know how to write a ratio or a rate and say then, is this proportional or not? So what this here is saying is at, I don't know, Sam's Club, you can spend $24 for 16 burgers, but at Costco, their deal is $15 for 10 burgers. Is this rate proportional? Is this rate the same? Or is one store better than the other? So what we're going to do here is we're going to say $24 for 16 burgers. Is that equal? And I'm going to put my money sign here for $24. Is that equal to $15 for 10 burgers? Well, what we can do is we can use those cross products we just learned about. And we can say 24 times 10 is 240. And then we can multiply 15 times 16, which gives us 240. Because the cross products are equal, the answer here is yes. These are proportional. So whether I go to Costco or to Sam's Club, I'm getting the same rate for these burgers. Just at Sam's Club, I think I said first, I'm getting more burgers than I would be at Costco. Let's go ahead and you try one just like that. So first you have to put it into a rate, which we learned about before we went on break, and then use cross products to determine if these rates are proportional or not. We'll pause the video while you work. All right, so again, first you're gonna set up that proportion. So we have 10 books for $4.50. Is that equal to 15 books for $6? One question I always get asked is someone will raise their hand and say, Ms. Hine, I wrote $4.50 over 10 and 6 over 15. That's okay as long as you put books and then money and money, or money and money, books and books. Just making sure that your proportions are written the same. Make sure each rate is written exactly the same. So again, now we're going to use those cross products here. So we have 10 times $6 is 60, and then 15 times $4.50. We're going to type that one in. 15 times $4.50 gives me 67.5. I ran out of room, so I'll write it over there. These are not equal, which means that no, this is not proportional. These are not at the same rate. Okay. So you do have homework today. It is journal page 66, numbers 1 through 10. Make sure you show your work. Did you simplify and then say yes or no? Or did you use cross products and then say yes or no? And then make sure you answer the question yes or no. If you finish early, you're working on this textbook page 114 on whiteboards. Thanks.